And welcome. You know what they say, the World Wide Web is a large place, and we found each other, right?
That's right. Thank you so much for the invitation. I can't, I've been on Zoom, I've been on Google, I've been on, what is this, StreamYard, and God knows how many other platforms there are. I am so sorry that I'm late today.
It's quite all right. So what I'm going to do is hold on one second. I'm getting
Sure.
feedback. There we go. I'm going to have to mute you in between questions here. But what I wanted to start with was, the other night was the next big step in North End urban plan. But let's take a step back because there's been new news since that. Let's talk about vaccine in the city and your take on all the vaccine news that came down yesterday.
Well, I think it's terrific. I really hope that we can follow through. It seems like the problem appears to be that the states are not receiving the amount of vaccine at least originally planned for. Now that the president has instituted some new measures to get more vaccines, I think we're going to be all set. They are looking for volunteers. They need volunteers everywhere, including for phone calls, checking people in, giving shots, those sorts of things. I believe our site is planned for CCRI, which I think is probably a good location. It's large, it's accessible, plenty of parking. And the main thing is, I would think, as I looked at other states and how they're doing it, that there'd be a registration process first so that we don't have long waiting lines.
And I talked to Tom Shevlin yesterday, and it looks like the city will start with 120 doses next week, and the Housing Authority will start with 250, and then in mid-February, Middletown and Newport will be partnering on a vaccination center.
That's right. That's right. And I think once it gets going and people get used to what they have to do and the vaccine is available, enough vaccine is available, I think we're going to see some real big numbers come through for people that have been vaccinated. The one issue, and I've heard this from a couple people, now it looks like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be approved within the next couple weeks. And there was an indication that some people say, well, it's only X percentage effective. I think in the United States, for the trials they've done, it's like 75% effective. But it is only one shot. And a couple people have said to me, oh, I'll wait for the other shot, the 2 shots, because it's like up in the 90s. I got to be honest, I'll take any shot that's available. I want to be protected. So, those are some of the things that may gum up the works a little bit if somebody registers and doesn't get the kind of vaccine they want. I don't know.
And I thought this morning where, federally they're saying, whatever shot comes your way, take it. You don't get to pick and choose. That's going to be yours to be had. So one thing I did want to point out is I talked to Tom Shevlin, communications officer for the city yesterday, and his biggest thing he wants to yell from the mountaintops is everybody in the city should be signing up for the emergency 911 system. It is a two-way street for the city to communicate with you to communicate with the city, and they can let you know when you are eligible for a vaccine.
Right, exactly. And I know, I believe that's a system that has been used successfully in other states, in other areas, and they've been able to avoid the thing of people just showing up and not being able to get the shot. It's worked very well in other locations. I signed up for it this morning. People don't understand what it is because it comes through as 911, and they think that it's something added to your phone for emergencies in Rhode Island, and particularly weather emergencies. This is actually something they're putting out there for the vaccination program. So those that get it, please sign up. If you get the phone call from the city to sign up for it or ask if you're signing up for it, please do so. I know they're going to do an outreach, particularly for the older residents, a phone outreach.
And it certainly played a great role in during the gas outage 2 years ago. And you can sign up right on the City of Newport's website if you are a City of Newport resident. While we're on that category, why don't we just touch base on anything else COVID? Any other COVID updates from the city or from yourself?
At this point, pretty much what has been given out, there is some concern about school outbreaks and whether kids should be in school learning or in at home learning. So those are being ferreted out. The other thing is they're changing the time on bars and restaurants to allow them to stay open later at night. Aside from that, just what you've heard on a daily basis.
And that's it. And I have been on the COVID updates for the City of Newport, and they base everything that they are doing off of what is coming from the governor, what is coming from the Department of Health. So if you watch those communications, you know what the city is doing. One note I will point out is the lifting of the curfew was supposed to start on Sunday. The governor signed a thing today. So beginning tonight, restaurants can stay open past 10:30 p.m. So that begins tonight, and hopefully it helps some of our restaurants.
Yeah. They still have the distance restrictions involved. So, I really see that that could work. They're not crowding them in. It's not that kind of case. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, and I want to say this about all the managers, town managers, city managers across the state. The League of Cities and Towns has done an excellent job with managers in bringing the information from the state, particularly in regard to COVID, back to each city and town. You can imagine how difficult it must be to set up this kind of network. And I know in my conversations with the manager that they now can contact the National Guard directly. I guess whatever units represent different cities and towns, and they'll be in here. So I just think, I have a feeling that we're on to something that's going to be very, very successful because everybody's on board together and the oars are rowing in the same direction.
And we sure hope so. One of the things you mentioned, leagues of cities and towns, and I know you sit on those calls, and I'm just wondering from your point of view as mayor, as somebody who sits on city council, somebody who sits on those calls, Lieutenant Governor McKee could possibly be the new governor of Rhode Island as early as next Friday. Any thoughts on what might change, what you're looking forward to? Any thoughts on Lieutenant Governor?
Well, actually, I've known the Lieutenant Governor for a long time. And when he was mayor upstate, and he did a great job up there. He, although he comes from a political background, he also comes from a business background, owned his own business, small business. I just think he's going to be really in tune with the people of Rhode Island, the working class of Rhode Island. He's very sensitive to school issues. He did take a lot of flack for the mayoral academies, and at least the one that they established in his area has done very well. Not so much with the others, but I mean, you can't pick and choose when you're making a decision like that. He did improve educational opportunities for the children in his area. And as far as being the lieutenant governor, I think he's done a great job. People complained to me early on that particularly small businesses and in Newport, the hospitality industry, they didn't know which end was up. They felt so disconnected from what was going on upstate. And I know that Lieutenant Governor McKee took that right over, set up a system where he could communicate with each and every town. He knew how to do it because he was very active in the League of Cities and Towns, and he met the needs, and he invited different people from the state to communicate what was available to these small businesses. So, I give him kudos for that, because it was like a vacuum in this whole information system with COVID. So I think he's going to do very well. I think he's going to be very much in touch with the families of Rhode Island.
And he's certainly walking into a pandemic, a big budget deficit, lots of change coming up. But when we bring things closer, Newport is looking at its second summer with no cruise ships, with hospitality being down, taxes in the city of Newport. I mean, what's coming for the city of Newport residents, as the city looks to make up some of that money that they need to operate?
Well, first of all, I hope people remember last year, for the first time in my career, I voted for a no tax increase. And the reason being, we were in the midst of COVID. And I was hearing from those people that were either laid off from their jobs or concerned about how long this would last. Well, here we are in January of 21, and just to the point where they're going to start administering vaccines. So we're still we're under lockdown. Schools are in and out. It's going to be difficult. I can tell you it's down in every area as far as the stream of income to the city. You're right, cruise tax, hotel tax, Airbnb tax, meals and beverage tax, all of those, which is reflective of our major industry, hospitality. And, I think for the first time, I think it's going to be very evident to people how much we relied on the hospitality industry, as much as some people will all of a sudden say, oh, I hate the traffic and, oh, the noise and this, that, and the other thing. It is a large part of our economy, which is why we were trying to diversify job opportunities in the North End with the development of the North End. So this year it's going to be tough. There is still money coming forward, my understanding is, hopefully nationally, that there will be money in the next round of approvals in D.C. for cities and towns. It is desperately needed. There are states, by and large, there's a number of our cities and towns that are run well, and there's others that maybe not so much so. And the needs are going to be great for the cities and towns across the United States. This has truly impacted everybody.
Now, Mayor, I know that the city council with the city manager and city staff had a budget workshop last week. What was your biggest takeaway out of that?
Well, it was kind of premature, but we needed it. That was just the beginning to kind of give us a taste of where we're at. And what I saw, my take on it was, oh my God, we're down so much from an income stream. Every single budget had felt it. And what the manager has been able to do is take from some of the budgets to fill the gaps, to fill the holes. but we're not going to be able to do that for much longer, which is why it's important that we get the city back on track, that we get businesses back on track, and particularly our hospitality industry for the coming season. It won't be perfect. There still will be restrictions involved, but I think even last year we were a bit surprised at June and July. They were not bad months at all. We started to feel it in August, and then of course when you went into the fall where they were getting more restrictive, then the money went down. Right, and the normal flow of the money during January, February, and March is low anyway. Always has been, and then it picks right up in April. Well, we're hoping that with restrictions as they're lifted little by little, that maybe we can get back to some sort of normalcy by June or July. And everything depends on the vaccine.
And it does. I was chatting with Evan Smith from Discover Newport earlier this morning, and it's the vaccine and it's testing. The city council and city administration has a workshop coming up on February 6th with state delegation. What do you think the biggest asks from city council in the city of Newport and our state delegation will be at that meeting?
Well, I do know that the council is wondering about, and Newport is wondering about, will the city honor, or will the state honor their obligations of aid to cities and towns? Right now, my understanding is we're getting a 12th each month instead of getting a package. And, we're really concerned if we're going to get what they had promised us in the budget. And of course, the schools were still, I was thrilled that the school bond passed, and they're moving very quickly on it. So I think we're kind of wondering, will they complete their obligation to the school? And if we continue, I believe that they want to do the additional Pell first, and that would be completed fairly quick. State's going to have a problem. State has a problem now. That's why they changed the car tax for cities and towns. But they're in tough shape. Hopefully, the feds will wind up giving each state more money, and we'll be able to meet our obligations.
And it's looked like it's hopefully will go that way. As if that wasn't enough to worry about on Wednesday night. I'm getting all confused this week. There was a city council meeting, about 2 hours, 20 minutes. The majority of that, or a good portion of that, was spent on the North End urban plan. It was the next step in the process. Tell us where we're at in the process. When do we start seeing things change?
Yeah, the funniest, well, it wasn't funny, but we've been going through this for so long. And what the step we were taking was to include this on the in the comprehensive plan. We wanted to adopt the ordinance to include the North End urban plan into our comp plan so that they could start working on zoning issues. But people seemed, or at least some, were kind of hung up on some of the issues directly related to the zoning. That's something totally different that we'll take up at a later time. When I looked at all the meetings that were held for the North End, it was amazing to me. They had over 350 individuals involved in the consultants' contacts alone. There were 25 individual meetings, phone calls with advocates, over 60 Newport businesses, small groups, steering committee, media. Everybody for the last year had been saturated with what was happening with the North End plan. So now we've taken the first step, and I really am looking toward the opportunity of looking at what planning has for us in terms of the zoning, because that's where the real work begins, with the developers.
So, Mayor, just so I'm clear, because I think I confused myself, what is the next step in the North End Urban Plan?
The next step, I believe, it would be for the planning board to present us with ordinances that would be incorporated into the urban plan in the North End. Right now, we have the state's approval in general for what we want to do. One of the things that really caused a bit of a hang-up, I think, was when we combined, we wanted to combine the commercial aspect with some housing aspect. And what we were referring to truly was workforce housing. Workforce housing is for to me, it's for young professionals, people that live here, that work here, that have a good income, can't afford a house yet, but need a reasonable rent. And I think that will be part of the plan. What a lot of people didn't understand, what was originally presented, and I'll go specifically to the Capianato proposal. It was just a picture. It wasn't anything in particular. It's what they envisioned, but it wasn't the true schematics. And when you get the schematics, that's something that then they have some meat on the bones, and the planning department can look at that and say, yeah, that's exactly what we were thinking. And I know there was some issues about the housing aspect. The housing aspect would be very similar to what we're doing at the not Calendar School, the Cranston Calvert School, where there are apartments. They may be a little bit smaller than the traditional apartments, but the rents are market rent. They're workforce rent. So, and make no mistake about it, that's really what we have to do in order to make it successful. We wanted to give people a place where they could not only work, but maybe be surrounded in almost like a little city environment where they had businesses around, where they had restaurants around, where they had activities. And we wanted to enliven the North End, because God knows, there's a lot of property out there. Granted, there's a lot that can't be built on, but we are looking forward to perhaps getting some of our businesses either from the Innovate Newport or other tech businesses integrated into this whole area.
Let's do a little quick, a rapid fire session, as I'll call it, and get the latest on a couple updates. Mayor, what is the latest with the Capianato project, as far as you know? When is the Newport Casino going to come down and fall down?
No, if we didn't have that moratorium another 6 months, I would have called them up and said, get rid of it. I would imagine that, I haven't talked to him yet because we just approved moving forward on this, but my intentions were to speak to one of them directly and say, hey, first things first, you got to take that place down. And I think that would show people that they have the, not only the wherewithal, and I believe they do have the wherewithal, but the interest in doing so and putting something else there. Putting something else which has the approval of planning and zoning there, which will help the city in their job opportunities and expand our tax base.
Next, let's go with Pell Bridge ramp realignment. What's the latest that you think?
That is, Actually, I guess they're going along fine because I haven't heard any complaints. I think that by springtime, they'll be working full force. They had to stop for now because of the winter snow, and they can't lay asphalt above, I don't know, or under like 50 degrees. So I would anticipate that ramp should be done. I think the complete job, but then they're going up Connell Highway. I would think the complete job should be done by summer. I would hope. By summer, I'm talking June, because they'll probably come in here full force in April to start their, if not earlier, maybe March if we get a nice March. It really depends on the weather.
Here's a fun one. For those residents that are worried about a pot shop popping up on every corner and street, what do you have to say about all of that? I know that's been a hot topic at city council meetings.
Oh, yeah. I know more about pot shots than, First of all, I want to relay to you a funny story. I had a number of people, and people that were concerned about me. I had repeatedly said, hey, there's nothing in it for us. Cities and towns don't get anything. And I had kind of heard a lot of this banter at the League of Cities and Towns. So then I said, ooh, I better check this out. I thought I heard it from a reliable source, but I wanted to check it out. So I pull out all the documentation. I can't find it anyplace. But boy, did I find out a wealth of information. And what happened was I had to call somebody up who worked on the legislation in the governor's office, and he said to me, oh, Jeanne, of course it's there. There's something in it for cities and towns. We specifically put it in there. I said, well, can you call me back within an hour and send me a copy? Because I said, I don't want to make the mistake of saying it on the floor again. He called me back in an hour and he goes, I'm embarrassed. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, they took it out. There's nothing in it. The state, first of all, and I hope you understand this, they get $10,000 for every application put in. There were 60. Okay, so they get that money, and only 6 will be chosen. Excuse me, I'm wrong. 47 of them, 470,000. Only 6 will be chosen by a lottery. It is a non-refundable. Then, for the 6 that get the license, it costs $500,000 apiece. Then, the state gets 4% on a monthly basis of the gross sales. That goes into the state budget. And then, every 3 months, they get the quarterly of the taxes at 7% on all their sales. And there's nothing for any city and town. What they tell you is, well, the cities and towns will benefit because we're going to give that back to you in terms of state aid. I mean, it just wasn't worth it. Not with the collateral problems that come along. Anybody that has been by any of their facilities will know that there's a problem with parking, with accidents. They have the records for it. So, I am awaiting the planning board again. We gave it to them last July. The day before the meeting, they came up with a list and saying they wanted to study this for another 6 months. So it's out there until, I think, June.
Okay. And, speaking of problems with parking, I feel like we've been talking about this topic for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years now, but short-term rentals in the city, it's got to be one of the biggest issues people bring up. Some people will say it's why there isn't affordable housing. Anything coming down the line to regulate, to change short-term rentals in the city?
Yeah, and it's two separate problems. One, and there are those that believe that we should have a homestead exemption. And I can tell you 10 years ago, when I first introduced it, I was all on board. I said, absolutely. People who live here, work here, raise their families here, give them a homestead exemption. But what I've found out since that time, and again, I'll go back to the League of Cities and Towns, there are there are a number of cities and towns, 4 or 5, that have the homestead exemption, and some got rid of it because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't make that tax bite that they couldn't generate enough money with the homestead exemption to do business. So they got rid of it. They went to other tax schemes. Now, this is where the Airbnbs and the rest of the platforms fit in. I honestly believe they are businesses. People that buy these homes and rent them out in the summertime should be charged a commercial rate for taxes. We get money, and I guess this was something negotiated by the governor from Airbnb, and we get one check, and it doesn't delineate where the places are, how many rooms they're renting, what they're renting it for. We just get a check. And we're supposed to say, thank you very much. It's very frustrating to me. I have said this any number of times. We should know where they are. We should know how many rooms they're renting out. All these things that a hotel has to do. They're just operating like a little mini hotel and competing with them. I don't have anything against Airbnb, but when you're in the business, you're in the business. You should be charged a business rate, and you should have parking. And that is a problem. If you're renting out 2 or 3 rooms and you got 3 or 4 cars added to your neighborhood, that's a big deal. If you don't have the appropriate parking, I don't think you should be allowed to have it. I hear from these people.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I said I have the pleasure of sitting at city council meetings and zoning meetings and planning board meetings. And many times if a business or restaurant doesn't have enough parking, the license isn't given to them. So why wouldn't a business of an Airbnb be under the same jurisdiction?
Absolutely. Yep.
Mayor, is there anything else that we missed today that you wanted to share while I have it?
Well, just that obviously there are some that are upset about the North End plan. And I had planned to say it that night, but I could see the way things were going that we were going to get at least this part going. So I kind of kept my powder dry. But, I just want to say, let's not let perfection be the enemy of the good. That is a good plan. It's a great plan. There's a lot of people that have worked on it. There's been a lot of input. And we'll continue to work on it, and we're going to continue to listen, in the various platforms that we have to the concerns, but also we want to get to the place that we originally wanted, and that is to create a community, what used to be the city dump, that was one time the fronton, and a huge parking lot, and we want to make it into a beautiful place that people want to go, they want to visit, they want to shop, they want to work, and they want to live. So that's the goal.
Excellent. And I really appreciate you joining me today. And did we hit everything that we wanted to today?
I think so. I'm just so happy that you invited me. Earlier I had a Google meeting with a fifth grader that he won the art prize at Thompson, which we put on our Christmas card every year, and they were talking about the arts and music. They had all the kids on the screen. They were talking about different things. I'm so excited about the schools and the direction we're headed in that I think if everything comes together, I think we're going to be okay. You know, this has been a tough year for everybody, not only the businesses, but families and parents and kids. But we need to stay together on this. So I'm confident about the future.
And that's good. That's all we can be. And Mayor, I want to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, anytime.
All right. That is Jeanne Marie Napolitano, Mayor in chair for the Newport City Council. We thank her for joining us today. And again, the joint workshop with the state delegation in Newport City Council, which will be open to the public, is scheduled for February 6th at 10 a.m. And you'll be able to tune in by phone, or you can join that by Zoom. And of course, all of Newport City Council's regular meetings, you can find all of that data on City of Newport's website as well. You can participate in the meetings. And of course, all of these city councilors, as well as the mayor, you can always reach out to them via email or phone. And we want to thank the mayor for joining us again. And if you missed any portion of this interview, you can find it on our website. And please share it with your neighbors and friends. And we will chat with you soon. A couple people asked in the comments about vaccine in Newport. You can find all of that information up on our website. We did a story yesterday where Middletown and Newport have rolled out their vaccine plans. For those wondering about the rest of Newport County, working on that as we speak. Thanks for watching.